We actually got a brand deal when we had 0 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Unspoken rules in like the social media influencer world, such as how much should I charge for a brand deal? How do I get brand deals? Can I even get a brand deal if I have like less than 1,000 followers? Today it is episode 2 of the non-9 to 5 podcast. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about social media influencers. It's a term which you definitely should have heard of in 2020 and especially in 2021, and it's become really popular during the pandemic. So whilst everyone was stuck indoors, everyone was on social media, and then people realized that they could actually build a following and a community and even a career just from social media, and then turn it into a revenue stream and even their own personal business. For today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how to become a social media influencer, some first-hand experience from me. I am a part-time social media influencer. We're going to be talking about some tips and tricks on how to grow as a social media influencer, how to create good content, how to work with brands. And then I reached out to some of you lot on Instagram to hear some questions that you want to hear answered. And you had some really good questions, some unspoken rules in like the social media influencer world, such as how much should I charge for a brand deal? How do I get brand deals? Can I even get a brand deal if I have like less than 1,000 followers? And should I join a social media agency? And then finally, we're going to role reverse. I'm going to talk about it from a business perspective of working with influencers. So I currently own 2 businesses. I own Payday Vintage in partnership. We're an online vintage clothing store from the UK. Definitely go check it out. And I also run my own clothing brand called Ultraplete. And we've worked with countless influencers. So I've experienced a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. So I'm going to talk about what you should look out for, who you should aim to collaborate with to help you try and guide you to find the best influencer that matches your brand and gives you the best return on investment. So before we jump into the episode, if you're new to this podcast, this is the non-9 to 5 podcast. It's a business podcast where I aim to interview other entrepreneurs who've turned their passion and not gone down the standard 9 to 5 route that you're taught in school and turn their passion into their own business. It can be in whatever field, and I'm trying to aim to kind of interview the smaller businesses, make it a lot more relatable. Hopefully you learn some new things to inspire you all to start your own business eventually and not go down the standard 9 to 5 route. So the first 2 episodes are just going to be me on my own. So this is episode 2. The first episode I talked about mindset, my business journey, and networking. So after this episode, each one I'm going to be interviewing a new guest who runs their own business and has not gone down the standard 9 to 5 route. So first of all, we're going to talk about what is a social media influencer. So social media influencer is defined as someone who is on social media, who has a great online presence, builds a kind of following, a community, and then uses their platform to kind of influence their followers' purchasing decisions. Me personally, I absolutely hate the term influencer. I feel embarrassed to even be classed as one. I'd rather be called a content creator, and rather my content be seen as something which inspires other people, motivates others, and gives people kind of fashion inspiration. So I really hate the term social media influencer, but it's universally known and it's the best kind of title. It's not clickbait, the best title for this video. So a little bit about me, background. I am from the UK, I'm 23 years old, and I am a fashion blogger. So for this, I'm mainly going to be talking about Instagram as the main platform because I feel like Instagram is the best one for it's kind of where the social media influencer kind of started, and it's the one that's most relatable to everyone because photos, I'd say, is much more easier, for example, than TikTok or YouTube because you have to do videos, you have to speak to the camera. Whereas on Instagram, you don't even have to speak, you can just post photos. So now to kind of give myself some credibility to show that I'm not just spitting out random facts, I've been doing this fashion blogging since 2015, so about 6 to 7 years. And a few brands I've worked with are JD, I've worked with Got2b, I've worked with Tommy Hilfiger, Adidas, Jack Wills, Lacoste, ASOS, and many more brands. So I want to give you my first-hand tips and tricks on how I basically eventually worked with these companies. Because when I first started out, I had no clue or didn't think it was even possible to work with these big companies. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you will know that Tommy Hilfiger has been like my favorite brand for years. So it was honestly like a dream come true when they reached out to me to work with me. Like they sent me stuff just to post content for them. Like it's insane. Like honestly, it's insane. So I want to give you all the best tips and tricks to help grow your social media platform and eventually work with some of these big companies, no matter what stage you're at now. So the first tip I want to talk about when it comes to social media influencing, and that is consistency. As you see on social media, I'm guessing a lot of you probably do go on social media every day. Well, I hope you do if you're listening to this, and you scroll through your Instagram feed and you realize that you need to see people's posts all the time. So as you see from these people who are like doing it full time, they pretty much post 5 times plus a week, because to grow your page on social media, you have to be consistent with content. You have to be constantly posting so people can refreshingly see your content. And the more people see your content, then the more you're going to appear on the top of the algorithm. And the way the feed and like algorithm works on Instagram is you get shown the content that you've been looking at kind of the most. So if you're posting consistently, there's more chance of people to click on your profile, engage with your content, and then your post will be boosted more. So I kind of recommend posting between 5 times a week to even every day. So at the moment, I currently post between 5 to 7 days. And sometimes I even post twice a day, once in the morning to get the engagement of when people are waking up, and then once in the evening, which evening time is usually the best because everyone's, I don't know, after work, finished dinner, and they're just sat on their phones. So it's a great time to engage with a lot of people. And moving on to the second point, the next tip, it is doing it for the right reasons. If you're trying to be an influencer just so you can get free stuff from brands, get paid for it, then you're just doing it for the wrong reason, because it's not a quick process. Like, as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing it since like 2015. It was just something that I did for fun. It was like I just posted outfit photos because I love fashion. I like showcasing my new clothes, and I just enjoyed taking photos too. So I just kept doing it, and I started getting, some good feedback, some good traction. So I just carried on with the momentum, posting more fits, posting new outfits, and then eventually collaborating with brands. So you've got to be doing it for the right reasons, because if you're not, I think a lot of brands as well will see through it, and it's hard to build a proper community if people can tell that you're not even into it. So you might see a lot of on social media is these people who have loads of followers, but every single post is just an advert. So you can't even tell what they actually like. And I think that ends up working in reverse for yourself. So you may think, oh, they're earning so much money, like they're getting so much brand deals, which yeah, they probably are, but they're not building a good following, because people can't really trust them, because if every post is an advert, you're just not going to trust everything they say, because you can just tell sometimes with these things that they just seem so fake that they don't even like the product. So you've got to kind of be authentic, and you've got to love what you do, because if you don't love posting content, then there's no way you're going to be with the previous point and be consistent. If you don't enjoy it, there's no way you're going to be able to post 5 to 7 times a week. It's just not going to happen. So if you don't already love kind of what you do and you're not going to take it seriously, then I would not say it's kind of the route for you to do. But doesn't mean to stop you from posting, but it's just not the route for you to kind of like, I don't know, make a career in social media. And then another point I want to talk about, and I think this is a big one, and that is not comparing yourself to others. You hear a lot of people, the whole thing with mental health at the moment, a lot of people say it's like bad for mental health, Instagram and social media, because you're constantly seeing the glamorized lifestyle and you kind of compare yourself to other people, which everyone's done it. Honestly, everyone does it. I don't know why we do it, but everyone does. And you need to get out of that mindset of thinking of it like that way. You need to kind of follow people who inspire you, so like role models, like, sports people, like, I don't know, celebrities that you love. And you need to use their content as motivation and inspiration. So I like to follow like other fashion bloggers in my niche, photographers, graphic designers, anyone in the whole creative realm. And then I see posts and I take inspiration from other people and try and incorporate it into my content. You don't want to just look at people and think, oh, why are they doing so well? Why are they getting so many brand deals? You need to think like, I can do it better than them. Like, use it as like competition, or just use it as a way to be like, if they can do it, then I can do it. As people look to like the whole negative side first, you just shouldn't look to compare yourself to others. Everyone's on their own path and journey. Like, everyone started from somewhere too. Like, when you think about it, when you start a sport, everyone is shocking at the start because no one's learned how to do it yet. So you're probably at a stage before them, like they've learned how to do the algorithm. And it's one of them things as well on social media. Once you start to get followers, it's a lot easier. It's just the start bit, which is the hardest part, because I don't know, Instagram just prioritizes the people with more followers. And that's why a lot of people have been transitioning over to TikTok, because TikTok's algorithm gives anyone the opportunity for their content to go viral. So another thing which I think is key with social media to building a community and a good following is to kind of show your personality. So I'm assuming that majority of you do use Instagram. They have a feature called like Instagram stories. So a good way to engage with your like audience is to do like Q&As, to do polls, to just post stories of like your everyday life, kind of showcasing a little bit of your personality, because people, especially during like lockdown and stuff, everyone wants to engage with other people. So if they get to know you better and you can, do Q&As on a weekly basis, then people feel like they know you more, they feel more connected with you, and then they'll more likely click on your page and engage with your content, because you'll kind of feel like an online friend to them. So that is always really good to do, and always try and give value back to your community, because once you build up a community, you should try and utilize that to like give back to them too. Like they're supporting you, so you need to give them something back in return. And then another tip is, if you're starting out, is to go for some sort of niche. So me personally, I have experience in the fashion realm, so I mainly post fashion content. I have delved into a bit of like lifestyle content and food content, but if you go on my page, I'm mainly seen as a fashion blogger. So you'll see like fitness pages, technology pages, food pages. Like it's always good to kind of have a niche, because if someone comes to your page, they know exactly what they're going to see, and it's a lot better layout for when a brand deal is coming to approach you. Because say if a clothing brand sees my page, they know that all my followers are going to be into men's fashion or just in fashion in general. So I'm a much better targeted influencer to choose in comparison to someone who is trying to do a bit of everything, because their followers can be like, some followers could like food, some followers could like travel. So then it's not the right targeted audience for that specific brand. So another big tip is being experimental with your content. You got to see what's going to perform well and what doesn't perform well. So for example, I do fashion content. So my main kind of fashion style is vintage, secondhand clothes I bought for cheap, and showcase that you can dress well on a budget. But I wanted to experiment and see, because even though you're in a niche audience, there's still so many different things inside that niche. So I experimented in like the streetwear fashion, minimal, smart, punk, like leather style, all black, literally all different style aesthetics, to see how my audience would engage with the different styles. And being kind of like experimental gives more chance for your page to be seen to new audiences. So for example, if I only stuck with vintage clothing, then the followers would only be people who are really into vintage clothing. Gives you the opportunity to target a lot more people to a bigger audience, and it helps gain your following. Another tip I'd really recommend it is adapting to the new features that come out on social media platforms. So at the moment, you would have seen that Instagram Reels is probably the newest feature on Instagram. It's basically their way of competing against TikTok to keep people engaged on the platform. And if you don't know what they are, Instagram Reels are basically just short 15 to 30 second videos. And the reason why I'd say you should get on these right away is because Instagram are really promoting them at the moment, because they want people to stay on Instagram instead of switching over and going to TikTok. So at the moment as well, there's not that many people posting Reels, because a lot of people on Instagram are only used to posting photos. So you need to utilize when these new things come out, because your stuff will get posted on the algorithm so much better. And at some points I was literally gaining 1,000 followers a week, which is honestly insane. So another tip as well is speaking and following other creators in your niche. They can be literally worldwide. So social media gives you the option to speak to people from all over the world. And so just see other hashtags like fashion blogger, streetwear blogger, street style, men with fashion, and follow other people who are in your same niche, engage with them. And you may have heard it from Gary Vaynerchuk. He is one of the most popular online entrepreneurs. It's called like the $80 rule, is where you put your like $8. You basically go on the most trending hashtags or most trending fashion bloggers, and you drop some comments on all the people. You're meant to do around 80 people every single day, engage with new people, and then people will see your comments. They'll probably follow your page. These new fashion bloggers may speak to you, and you reach out to them asking for tips on how to grow your page, what you can do to improve your content. And another thing too is actually meeting other creators in person. So since I've moved to Manchester, I've reached out to so many other influencers, photographers, and I aim to always network, because obviously if you collaborate, you both post each other's photos, then you're on each other's page, and it helps grow a community as well as a following, and it also really helps you build better content and shoot on the regular, and then hits that whole consistency with your content. So like now in Manchester, I go out about 2 to 3 times a week with my boy Remy. We bring like 2 to 3 outfits every single time. So we have a whole week's worth of content sorted. And then the final thing I'd say, it is being humble. So no matter how many followers you have, it should not change your personality. Like at the end of the day, it is a number. You see so many people, they just get some sort of like clout, as they'd say, certain number of followers, and they think they're suddenly better than anyone else. And honestly, I'm telling you, it will not help in your career. It may help you in the short run, like you might, I don't know, enjoy the wave while it's there, but then people will see through it and realise that he's actually a dick to work with, and then they'd rather go work with someone else. You want to always build good relationships with every brand you work with, everyone you speak to, and do you know what I mean? Just don't get big-headed just because of a number. At the end of the day, you don't mean that much. Like, I always think of it in this perspective. I heard this on another podcast. It was saying that if you passed away, you're an influencer, if you died, the only people who specifically would care, unless you're famous, would be like your family and your close friends. These people on social media who follow you, they would not, do you know what I mean, come to your funeral, they wouldn't do that. You're not a celebrity, you're just someone online who's built a community, so don't take it that deeply. And then the final tip I want to talk about is when you're working with a brand, when you get a brand deal, is to always do a little bit extra. So if I ever work with a company and they just ask for like, one outfit photo, I'll always go out and shoot like close-up details of the product, flat layers of the product, and send more to the brand, because it's competitive. Like there's so many social media influencers. If you want to get your foot in the door and build a good relationship, because it's always easier to get return customer than to find a new brand to work with. So for example, JD, the first time I worked with them, it was a JD and Adidas campaign. They just wanted one outfit photo, and I was like, I want to stand out. So I sent them outfit photos, close-ups of the shoe. I even did them a reel, which I didn't need to do. And then obviously I stood out from that point, and then I've had return business with JD. So I'd always say, do the little bit extra. Even if you just sign the contract for just one thing, if you do that little bit extra, it's going to help in the long run, and you're going to build much bigger relationships. So now we're going to move on to some of the questions that you lot asked on Instagram. So I reached out to hear what you wanted to know and learn about being a social media influencer. And probably one of the most common questions was, do you need a certain number of followers to get a brand deal? Personally, I don't think you need a certain number of followers. Having a large amount of followers obviously helps. It gives you like a little bit of a head start, because the brand can get value back, because they see the number of followers and they think that's a set number of customers. So for example, if they saw me with 25,000 followers in comparison to someone with 2,000 followers, they think, oh, he's obviously going to benefit our company more because he has that many more followers. So it leads to more customers and more advertisement from the brand deal. However, one thing you need to look at is a lot of these people, when it comes to like my number of followers, is we charge for content. So that gives an advantage to these smaller influencers. So say if you had 2,000 followers, you're probably unlikely going to be charging for a brand deal. So then if companies don't have the budget, then they're going to be looking for these smaller these smaller influencers. So it gives these people with like 2,000 followers the good gateway to get in there with these other brands who don't have the budget. And to give a clear example of this as well is on my second YouTube channel called 2-1 that I do with my housemate Matt, we actually got a brand deal when we had 0 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So last summer, we basically travelled to 10 countries for only £100. So basically we bought, I think in total, 9 bus tickets with a company called Flixbus around Europe, and our tickets equivalated to like £99.89, and we managed to go to 10 countries. So what we basically did is after we bought those tickets, we proposed the idea to Flixbus that we're going to make this series, a 3-episode series, and in return they sponsored the video, they reimbursed us for our tickets, and they also let us do a giveaway where we gave out 30 free tickets to 3 lucky winners. So Honestly insane. We basically got 50 trips for free, which clearly shows that if you put in that extra bit of work and give a proposal to a brand that they can't turn down, then you can get a brand deal with no matter how many followers you have. You just need to give them some sort of value. You've got to try and think of everything from a role reversal. Think of it as if you were the business. If you were the business, why would you choose to work with this influencer? What can they provide you that no one else can? So for example, on the Flixbus, no one had ever travelled to 10 countries for £100. They decided to take a chance and sponsor us for the video. So the next question that you asked was how to get brand deals. So first of all, one thing is don't be afraid to reach out to brands. A lot of people, well, I personally did from personal experience, expected the only way to get brand deals was for them to reach out to you. But turns out from when I started running a business, a Payday Vintage, Ultra Pleats, so many people message asking to be a brand deal, to ask for free clothes, and in turn they'll post photos. So I literally get, on Payday Vintage, we probably get about 20 of them a day. 20 of them a day, which is like insane. And this is what I mean by you should aim to email the company, and you should do a thing called creating a media kit. So if you've never heard of a media kit is basically like your online influencer CV. You should put your analytics, so your like male and female customer percentages. You can get all this information on Instagram. You should put your engagement, how many people see like your stuff every single week. You can see that once again, the reach, the impressions. You should put the countries that your followers are from, the age, and then you can put like, I don't know, your statistics. You want to be on a creator account, you get your statistics for each of your like last 9 posts, then they can use your analytics, and it's kind of proof that you know what I mean, you have credibility, and I don't know, it just instantly looks more professional. It saves them doing the work. And you should also put some of your previous work of like other brands you've collaborated with. So I'll put all the brands I've worked with previously, and the more brands you work with, then the more kind of like reliable you are, and it just saves them the work. And that's another thing too, is a lot of time these big companies pay for agencies to find these influencers, and then they have to pay the agency as well as paying the influencer. Whereas if you reach out to them, it kind of cuts out the middleman and actually saves them more money and more time. So coming to the next question, for some reason I think this is the one question that's like the unspoken rule in influencers. It's always been one that I've always struggled with, and I still do to this day, and it is how much should you charge for an Instagram post. So this one, I genuinely had no clue. I'd watched so many YouTube tutorials and so many podcasts. The main rule I kind of found was $10 per 1,000 followers. So, for example, if I have 25,000 followers, I should be charging around $250 per post. However, this is completely untrue and completely depends on the client. So, for example, if a small clothing brand, a startup, hits me up, like they're at the same boat that I am with Ultra Pleats, I know that they don't have much of a budget, so I will always charge a very cheaper rate. So for example, like, I don't know, between £50 to £100, because I know for a fact that they're a small brand, do you know what I mean? They're a small brand, they don't have the budget, and I was in that situation too at one point, so I want to help them out. Whereas a big company comes to you, they obviously have so much money to spend, do you know what I mean? They're earning revenues, for example, like JD, big money every year, so if they approach me, I know that I can charge the higher price point because they have much more money to give out. However, when I first got approached by JD, I had the assumption that I'm quite a small influencer. JD are huge, I mean, they're worldwide, and they're offering to, when I had my first one, the JD and Adidas deal, they said you get to choose one full outfit. They gave me a pair of £80 trainers. So basically in total, they give me like £150 worth of apparel and shoes, and then they were offering to pay me. And to be honest, for me, I was going to do it for free because I thought, JD, I'm benefiting more than JD. I thought if I get posted on their feed, they have like 4 million followers, so I'm going to benefit more, and I'm already getting these clothes which are worth £150. Surely I can't be charging much. And I'm going to be honest here and transparent, I charged £100 for my first photo with JD, which to me I thought was amazing. I was like, well, £100 and I've got this stuff and I'm working with JD. That's insane. And then when I spoke to other people, they were like, mate, that's JD. Think how much money JD earn, and think about it in perspective to your followers. You've got 25,000 people who are into men's fashion, and you're posting a full outfit of theirs, and the shoes are £80. So let's just say one person buys the shoes and the t-shirt you're wearing for £120. That's the whole deal paid for. Just one person out of 25,000. So when you put up the probabilities to 1 out of 25,000 people, that sounds like nothing. So do you know what I mean? If they got 10 sales just from the shoes, and let's just say the shoes are 100 quid for quick maths, and they sold 12 pairs of the shoes to my followers, they're making £1,200 off a £100 post. Like, their return on investment is insane. So when I heard it from like that perspective, like the money perspective, I was like, what? And they were like, think about your time you spend taking the content, editing the content, getting a photographer. You got to add up all these things to then come at a different price point. And then from now, I've raised my prices, but it's just one of them things that you just don't get taught. And I don't know why you speak to other influencers. No one tells you their price. I don't know if I actually don't know why. But another good way to work out your brand, like your price point, is to join some of the influencer apps and agencies. You can sign up as an influencer, and when you're signing up and putting your number of followers, it kind of like gives you like the average number of money you should be charging per post. So that's a really good starting point to kind of give you the kind of grasp on where to start, because I felt like I was completely clueless. Like, to be honest, I didn't even know you could charge for stuff. I just thought they're sending me free products, like that's their money. I just thought that was good enough, but turns out you can make money from being a social media influencer. I didn't think I was big enough, but turns out at any number of followers, like I have some friends that are these two girls I'm friends with, Hannah and Anna. They have around 2,000 followers, and they've already had some paid brand deals, which is pretty mad. Like 2,000 doesn't sound like, well, it is a lot of people, but in comparison to mine with 25,000, they're still making money. So it's just amazing to see. So don't get disheartened that if you don't have a certain number of followers that you can't get paid. If you know your worth and your content is good enough, you can honestly get paid. So I hope that helped clarify some people on how much you should charge for a brand deal. But another thing that you really, really need to look out for is reading the contract. So a lot of these big brands will not mention some things or just assume you should know them. Things that I didn't know, such as the rights for your content. So if the company is asking to use the rights to your content for like billboards, advertisement, paid ads, then you should be charging a lot more money, because think about it, they're using your content as an actual advertisement, something that they would have paid like a photographer, a professional team, models, and they're just getting you to do it and using you as the face of their brand to make more money. So when it comes to that, you need to be putting your price up a lot, which I'd never even thought about, because I just assumed, they're using my content for the adverts. I'm benefiting, my face is getting out there, more people are going to know about me, I'm going to get more followers, but in turn, I'm getting completely ripped off. You should be charging a lot more money because it's they're basically gaining the rights to your content. So basically they own the photo after you. So always read the contract, look out for these little things, and even just ask, because they're not going to lie to you, because you're going to be signing a contract. So just ask them if you don't understand anything, and then kind of negotiate on a deal. So we're going to move on to the next point, which is you asked, is it worth joining a social media agency? I can't really quote too much on this yet because I've never joined a social media agency. If you don't know what it is, a social media agency is basically management. So they run all your emails and they help you to like collaborate with some of these bigger brands. So they're basically kind of like a football agent or like a singer's agent. Like they know the people in the industry and they go out there to get you these brand deals, and basically they take a cut, which is usually around 20 to 25%, which is quite a lot of money, but they're meant to do all the negotiations, they save you time, and they're supposedly meant to get you these bigger brands. Me personally, I just thought I can manage doing my own emails myself, and no one has ever given me like that good of a deal to be like, yes, I want to do that. And usually they take 25% of YouTube ad revenue and YouTube deals, which I don't really like. So there's two forms when it comes to the agency. There's exclusive and non-exclusive. So the one, if I was ever going to go for, would be non-exclusive. So non-exclusive is where whatever brand deal comes from them, they take the percentage. But if a brand deal comes to you personally, then you take the brand deal and they get none of the cut, which to be honest is the best deal, because then they're forced to go out there and get the brand deals for you if they want to make some money. Whereas when it comes to being exclusive, they have full rights of everything. So whatever brand deal you get has to go through them, and they take a cut of your money. And I personally feel like, I don't know, once you're exclusive, like they don't have as much incentive to go out there and get you these deals. Whereas if you're non-exclusive, they have to go get you the deals to make any money. And the next one, the question that quite a lot you asked too, was what is the biggest benefit of being an influencer? So this is from my personal experience. Mine is the opportunity it kind of brings, the experiences you get to do, and the people you meet. So one of the cool things of being influencers is like you go to lots of things like social events. Obviously you get gifted some goods, which obviously is a bonus. Like is not gonna like getting free things? But I don't think that's the main thing of it. The main bit, you get to basically turn your art into like your job. So like something which you're passionate about, for example, fashion, and then to be working and collaborating with big companies and then showing them what you can do in your own creative way is amazing to see. And that's why I like working with companies where they give you the full creative freedom. They just say, here's the product. There's not really any brief. You just go out there and create some high quality photos and however you want to do, and send it to us first for approval. So I absolutely just love the process of, showing to a new brand what I can do, making a good relationship, and then the people I meet. So many other creatives, such as like photographers, editors, models, videographers. It's just such a good community. So the next question is, do you think social media influencing is a sustainable career? To me personally, I don't think it's a sustainable career. I know people do it full time, and I fully respect that. But the only problem with like being a social media influencer is you're not guaranteed income. You're not guaranteed that these brands are going to stick with you all the time. They're always going to stick with your rates. Like brands constantly want to try new influencers. There's always other people who are emerging in the market, other competitors, and there's so many social media platforms now, such as like TikTok, YouTube. So there's so many other platforms where they can promote other influencers and creatives. So and the other thing as well when being a social media influencer is the payment term. So usually you're paid on either a 30-day, 45-day or 60-day basis. So the money isn't even straight away. You have to have a lag time. So that's why I don't understand sometimes how people are doing this full time, like how they pay like the rent, because sometimes you're gonna have to wait for your invoice to be paid, and sometimes these invoices are paid late. Like you can't guarantee that the brand's always gonna pay you on time. So that's why I think you should use like your influence and the community you've built to start your own business. So for example, I noticed that a lot of my followers love vintage clothing, so that's why I started Payday Vintage. If you want to hear the whole story about that, then you can check out episode 1. And then recently, I've always wanted to start a clothing brand, and due to me being a fashion blogger and fashion content, I thought I'd use my own vision to then set up my own clothing brand, which is called Ultra Pleats, which is like a minimal menswear brand. So that's other ways you can use being a social media influence to kind of make an income for yourself. So you build, that's what I mentioned previously about the opportunities that being a social media influencer brings. It allows you to have a core following and core amount of customers who will like follow your journey and like believe in your products. So now we're going to move on to the final section, which is for all the business and entrepreneurs, and that is it worth working with social media influencers? So it all depends obviously on your business, your product, your service, and what you do. So as I mentioned, vintage clothing company and then a clothing brand. So for vintage, obviously it's actually quite hard because the problem with vintage is you rarely get the same product. So for example, I could give an influencer a pink Nike sweatshirt, should post a photo on it, but we do not have the same pink Nike sweatshirt on our website. So everyone's goes on our website and they're like, I want that Nike sweatshirt, but they can't find the same one because it's very rare that you get the same product. So when it comes to like a vintage company perspective, it's more good for the exposure. So it builds traffic to your store. So even though you don't have the same product, they can still find other similar Nike sweatshirts, other pink sweatshirts, and so far from Payday Vintage, it has really worked. We've actually worked with some pretty big influencers, like people who have like up to 5 million followers, and we've managed to do it for free. We've actually never paid anyone on Payday Vintage to do a brand collaboration. So that's one thing too. If you've got a good enough product, then people will work with you for free, no matter how many followers they have. So the girl, when she did the 5 million, she had 5 million followers. She only did, I think she did a TikTok and a story, and we literally gained like 3,000 followers in like 24 hours, which is like an amazing return on investment. Yes, we gave her a Fendi dress, which was worth like £120, but £120 for 3,000 followers is a very good return on investment. And all of these new followers could be new customers, and they could easily spend more than £120. And she was from United States, so it was good to get a completely new market over to our store. So I definitely recommend experimenting with working with influencers, but kind of try and find the right people to match your brand. And that's one thing I want to talk about too, and that is, don't be fooled by the number of followers you see on someone's account. So a lot of these accounts too, they're kind of faking their followers. A lot of people fake their engagement, and you've probably seen it many times. Like someone's got 100,000 followers, you go on their profile and they're not even getting 1,000 likes. Like that surely doesn't add up. Like how have they got that many followers, but they're getting that many little likes? It kind of shows that they've kind of faked their followers, or their account's just really unengaged with. And another thing to look out for with the number of followers is, just because they have a huge number of followers, they might not be like relevant anymore. So for example, these people on Love Island, they come out of Love Island and they get like 1 million followers, or between 500,000 to 1 million followers. They're macro influencers, huge people, kind of celebrities. They have the blue tick, and you just assume if you give something to them, then you're going to get huge traction, loads of sales, and loads of traffic to your shop. Whereas after a year's gone by and they're the old Love Island contestants, they still have that many followers. But the way Instagram works is you're showing content that people have been engaging with. So if they're not relevant anymore, they may have that many followers, but they're not appearing on many people's feeds. So they're not got good engagement. So then they're probably not even worth working with. So don't be fooled by someone having a blue tick and their number of followers. Do some background research on the influencer and see if they're the best representation for your brand. So for example, with my clothing brand Ultra Pleats, sometimes the micro influencers are the best ones, because the micro influencers, first of all, they're free. The second of all, they care about your brand and care about your product. And because they're smaller, they have more time. They don't have other brand deals at the moment. So they care about their content, and they're more likely to put in the work, do something a little bit extra, and they'll probably wear the product more. So like some of these big influencers, they just want the product. They feel entitled. They don't care about you as a brand. They don't understand that you're a small company, because they know they can just get your product for free. They can utilize their followers to be like, oh, send me these pants and I'll just do a photo for them. And yes, you do gain the initial amount from their first post, but they're very unlikely to do another post again. Whereas if you get a small micro influencer, if they love your product, they're likely to keep wearing the product and then posting about it more often than once. And you can build a good relationship, and they're more likely to tell people from word of mouth than someone who's big, unless they care about the brand. And then another thing too to look out for, I'm not going to mention any names, but some of these big influencers don't even do the post. It's like, obviously you don't write up a contract. So I've gifted a few of my trousers for my clothing brand, and I'd say there's 4 influencers who I've gifted my trousers to, and I've messaged them a couple of times, like more than like 3 to 4 times, asking when are they going to do the post, and they just still haven't done it. And you don't understand how frustrating and annoying it is. It's like, they don't understand that you're a small business owner. It's my money that I've spent and my time to get these clothes manufactured, to design them, to pay for them, and then pay for them to get shipped to them for free, and they're not even posting the content. Like, oh my God, pisses me off so much. And you don't have a big enough, following to make an impact. It's just, you've got to take it on the chin. And a lot of these ones too are signed by agencies. So they say, can I get gifted for these products? You gift them to them, and then they say, when you ask the post, oh, my agency says I can't do it unless you pay me, but you've already sent them the clothes. That was never part of the agreement to start with, but it's just the way it is. I mean, you could try and get contracts written up, but obviously it'd probably be a lot more expensive to get a solicitor and stuff involved. So that's definitely something to look out for. So I'd try and aim to give them to the right people, do your research, ask for them to send like analytics over to show that there's proof that they're not faking anything. But that's just something definitely to take into account, because, do you know what I mean? I've just lost money giving those trousers to them influencers who never even did the post. And honestly, it's just so frustrating because you feel rude asking them to post even though you've done them a favour. Like, I just don't understand. How can something, like, as I mentioned, you should always look at things from role reversal. Imagine if you were that brand owner and you just given something to someone for free and they've just done nothing about, like, they've done nothing. Like, oh, it just pisses me off. Honestly pisses me off. I'm going to move on to the next point now because I'm going to start getting angry and rambling on about it. So we're going to talk about as well, like I mentioned it a bit, it was micro and macro influencers. So micro influencers are classed as people with 3,000 up to 100,000 followers. So these are the smaller people, the ones that you can either get for free or cheap. And the macro influencers are the kind of ones who are pretty much famous, the ones who are doing it full time, the ones that have over 100,000 followers. And as I mentioned before, as micro influencers are such good to build a relationship with. And if you get in there first with a micro influencer before they get famous, that is actually perfect because you've built a relationship with them, you can keep consistently working with them, and they're just going to help the whole journey of your brand. But in general though, I say overall, definitely you should consider working with influencers for your product or so, depending on obviously what it is. But I just think it's such a good way to get like targeted advertisement. So obviously for fashion, my clothing brand, I target fashion bloggers, and if they have a core following who are into, you know, fashionable clothes, then if they see them wearing it, they are likely to, you know, click on your brand, take a look at the trousers, and obviously if they take style inspiration from that influencer, they are likely to get influenced and then purchase your clothes. So that is why they're termed social media influencers, and that is why so many brands, especially now during the pandemic when the clothing stores have been shut, have invested so much money into influencers. So it's a really good time if you want to start out being an influencer, because there's a lot of brands now that are investing into a lot of small people to kind of help them grow their brand exposure through social media, because everyone is currently shopping online due to the clothes. Well, the shops are now starting to open, but obviously beforehand you could only shop online. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So I hope I kind of answered a lot of these questions about social media influencing. Hopefully I've inspired you all and given you some tips if you're considering starting to try and build a following on social media. I've hopefully given you a kind of like a beginner's guide on what you should look out for, what you shouldn't look for, and hopefully from a business perspective, you now know what to look out for when working with these influencers and how to kind of approach them. I'd always make sure to make an agreement with them before you send the pieces out. Don't just say that, oh, what's your address? I'll send you these. Make sure you get them saying written consent, saying, I will do these posts for free. So then you've got something to kind of back you up, just in case they don't do the content. And also to put a thing as well about not deleting or archiving the post after like a year, because a lot of these influencers too will just do the post, leave it up for like 2 days, and then they'll just archive the post so it's disappeared. So you only get that initial push, and then once that's gone, then, do you know what I mean, your post is never seen again, so their followers will not see, which I mean, not every single one of their followers is going to see every single one of their photos. So you kind of want the post to be stuck on their feed, so it'll last for like, you know, weeks or months or years. And another thing to consider too is expanding onto other platforms. So I started obviously on Instagram, and then I started on YouTube. YouTube and TikTok are both really good platforms, especially TikTok at the moment due to its like algorithm, which allows people to grow stupidly fast, and videos are a good way to show your personality a lot more, to engage with your audience. And the more platforms, the more chances you are to grow on, do you know what I mean? People will transfer from TikTok and YouTube over to your Instagram, and then you'll gain more followers. But overall, just be passionate about your content, keep posting, keep getting consistent, and keep improving your content. Like, that's one key thing. Just take new initiatives, take new creative inspirations, and put it into your own work. Like, for example, my post from the past, like a couple of years ago, they're so terrible in comparison to now. Like, I've really stepped up my quality, invested in camera equipment, improved my editing style, improved my posing. And these are just things that you learn over the years, and you can pretty much learn anything nowadays from YouTube and on the internet. So just keep taking in new knowledge, trying out new techniques, being experimental. And yeah, if I've given you any help and you want to learn any new questions or any answers, then be sure to message me on my Instagram, just at @damhadley_. Huge thank you for listening. If you made it to the end of this podcast, hope you all have an amazing day, and I'm excited for episode 3 with my first guest. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.